Brian is an assemblyman, of course. His district will take you all the way, you're the 101, right? Take you all the way down from New Hartford, curls around into Mohawk, but not Herkimer, and then makes its way all the way down to almost the Pennsylvania border.
7 counties, 25 towns.
It's crazy.
It's a crazy district, but, it's challenging, but it's a good district.
Yeah. And do you find, Brian, though, that the people in, say, Orange County, because it goes that far down, that those people have different issues, different values, et cetera, than up here? Is it kind of a downstate, upstate thing?
Well, there's some different issues, but on a whole, everybody's looking for the same things, like you said before. Jobs, schools, safety, good roads.
And as we have said, in full disclosure, I do some work for Brian. And in this case, it's a bit of a controversial issue. Your opponent is making some charges. So I'm really going to let Manasseh kind of handle the questioning here on this. And it's a campaign finance issue.
Yeah, so you're aware of the allegation. Actually, we talked a little bit about it on Friday when we did the broadcast. Michael Waterman, who works for you, and his wife, looks like each donated $8,500 total. Last election cycle, you're aware of the allegation that basically your opponent is alleging campaign violations. How do you respond to that?
Well, the allegations were put out last Friday, and we did talk about it briefly on the radio last Friday. We looked into it like we always do. I'm an engineer. We do a root cause analysis and a corrective action plan, and we had our campaign people and our financial people look into this along with the Board of Elections, and this is what we came up with. There's not a $4,700 discrepancy here. It's more like a $300 discrepancy. But I like to go through the math with you. I had to write this down because I want to make sure that I get this right to everyone out there. But this is what happened. We had 2 primaries last year. 2 years ago. We had a Republican and the opportunity to ballot on the reform. The individual primary limit was $8,800. The general limit for the general election was $4,400. So the total amount that could be donated to me by an individual was $13,200. The individual donated $4,000 in kind, $1,000 regular donation, and $8,500 in loans. So his total donation for the cycle was $13,500, making it an over donation of $300. Okay, so we've been working with the Board of Elections.
Is that the total amount?
That's the total
amount. For each or just Mr. Waterman?
Mr. Waterman.
Okay.
Can a husband and wife give? They could give separately, right?
Yes, they can.
So they can. So is there any other campaign violation? You're talking about a $300.
We're talking about a $300 campaign financial discrepancy. Violation, yes, it's over by $300. So what we need to do is go back into 2016 financial disclosures and make a $300
so you write a
reimbursement
check
to the individual.
Has this already been settled with the Board of Elections?
We talked to him last week. What we're doing is we're trying to make sure that the language is 100% correct when we do our amendment to our financials. So we're talking about a $300 donation, not a $4,700 donation that my opponent's describing.
Your opponent kind of suggested that Mr. Waterman and his wife making the donations, that you repaid him by giving him a state job. He kind of alluded to that and then maybe backed away from it a little, but he kind of put it out there.
Well, that's one of the most absurd things I've heard. Mr. Waterman, I've known him for many years and worked alongside him as a county legislator. He is very capable. He knows government. He's a good organizer. We were going to put Mr. Waterman on staff as chief of staff as soon as the campaign started. So there was there's nothing true that we were, Mike donated to get a job. I've known Mike personally and professionally for many years. So he was the right choice to put in that spot.
So let me ask you. There's a story here from Ed Harris at the Utica OD. You said a part of that money was a donation, a loan. Excuse me. Part of that money was a loan. In the article from the OD, it says they talked to someone at the Board of Elections. Loans turn into campaign contributions if they're not repaid by the day after the election. Does that matter at all as you're hashing this out and looking back? That he loaned you the money, but it turns into a donation.
It turns into a donation. Does that matter at all? No, we will repay Mike Waterman his campaign loan. That's just the way it's going to work.
So you can still pay him back, even though it turns into.
I can pay him
personally
back.
Pay him back.
Personally, pay him back. And that's the way. That's the right thing to do, and that's what we're going to do moving forward.
All right. So you talked to the Board of Elections. What happens if they determine you this was a violation? What is the outcome? What's the reprimand? I guess.
Like I said, we talked to the Board of Elections. I've been working with them, and all it is it's a refiling of that financial statement, repay Mr. Waterman $300, and move forward. We're talking about a $300 discrepancy here.
Is this something that this is what a listener is asking? Is this something that your treasurer should have caught? I'm not trying to put you in a situation where
the treasurer have caught it. Well, we were all very new going into this assembly race 2 years ago. Should the treasurer have caught it? Maybe, but it was brought to our attention, and it's going to be fixed. So that's where we are.
Well, the problem too is that, and it seems like the problem could be that it was a loan. So the idea that you're maxed on donations, but you're not. There's not a max on loan money, is there?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
So let me ask you this: you say it's only $300, but we've seen candidates get thrown off the ballot because one signature isn't right or someone signed something like that. So there is none of that. You are on the ballot. We're on
the ballot.
Okay.
We're 20 days from election. What we should be talking about here, and my opponent should be too. We should be talking about the issues in the 101st. And I can go down every issue. We got inland water problems. We got roads in upstate New York that are in terrible shape and bridges. We should be talking to the constituents about that. We got school safety. We got school funding. We got unfunded mandates. Those are the important things that we should be out there talking to these people throughout the district about. It seems like just about every week there's a new allegation on what's happening here in the Miller campaign.
In fairness, though, the math didn't add up. It looks like it's going to be a violation. You've talked to the Board of Elections, not to detract from the issues, but there were a couple of issues. There was an issue with signatures, and then there was an issue with financial donations.
Well, yeah, we had an issue with signatures, and we've taken care of that. Like I said before, there was nothing that Brian Miller did with the signatures. It was an individual who went out on his own and was a rogue agent, and he went out and obtained some forged signatures, and he needs to be held accountable for this, and he is.
Has he been arrested?
He's been arrested.
He was arrested.
And I want to thank the state police for doing their job on this. They've done a great thing. And
I do think it is. I understand he's a young kid, like 20-some odd years old. Is that?
He's a 22-year-old young guy.
But
he's not a kid. He's a young man.
He's a man. But in fairness, I do think that this, based on what we've been through this year, I think that this signature thing does need to be. People need to be held to a standard. I mean, when you sign these documents, there is a disclosure right at the bottom of it.
When you sign the signature witness on the bottom, you are then saying that all of these signatures were obtained in a truthful manner, and the individual signed it, and he lied.
Did he tell you why he did it?
No, he didn't.
But he admitted to you that he did.
He admitted that he had forged some of these. I was very disappointed in that. We asked him numerous times if he did it, and he kept on telling us he didn't. But and it's too bad. It was a bad decision on his part. But at the end of the day, he needs to be held accountable for his actions, and
Right.
that's what's going to happen.
You have anything else?
No, just so at the end of this situation, you think it's just going to be you have to make a return contribution to Mr. Waterman.
We make the amendment to our financials. We make the return reimbursement to the individual.
Yeah.
And we move on from there. And that's where we are. You know, this has been a crazy election season. I've been doing this for a long time, and this has been one of the craziest. But again, you know, like I said, we need to talk about the issues in the 101st and upstate area. That's what the voters really need to talk about. You know, every week it's a new allegation on you did this, you did that.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt he's got to be, and he says it was a constituent that actually filed this. But somebody is out there scouring through your paperwork. So my assumption would be that they've been through everything. You've been through everything. There's nothing else that's going to pop up.
Well, Bill, who knows? There's 20 days left of campaign craziness.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. You're good. I'm also told on the financials that, and I've been looking into this, that Dave Gordon has still not filed. Has not filed his financials. You know what? If you fail to file, I think there's a fine for that, right?
I believe there's a fine. I don't get involved. You know, I know who donates. I don't get involved with the treasurer's reports. You know, he has dates he has to hit, and I can't tell you if there's a fine or not.
Got it.
That.
Okay. All right, Brian Miller, we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing from your opponent again, and we do our best to make sure it is fair to the minute. So I'm sure he's going to want to respond, which will probably get a response from you at some point as well. That's a campaign, so we apprate you coming
We'll come
in.
on the radio anytime.
All right. Thanks so much. Brian Miller.
Guys.